Hey, you guys, welcome to Animals Attack. I'm so happy that you stopped by to check out another episode. I appreciate that. So, this story is titled Bear Attack, and I can't get enough of those. So, it starts out. Hello, Leslie. This event took place in either 1962 or 1963. My dad, uncle, and I went fishing in the Sierra Nevada mountains at a small reservoir called Portal 4 Bay, which is about 95 miles from our home on Central Valley of California. At the time, my uncle worked from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., and my dad worked a traditional 8 to 5 job. When my uncle got off of work at 3, he came by our house and picked up the groceries that he and Dad had purchased earlier in the week for this fishing trip. He then headed for the fishing spot, and once he arrived, he set up his tent, gathered enough firewood for the evening, and get as much of the camp set up as he could, so that when my dad and I arrived several hours later, all we needed to do was to set up our tent, have a cup of coffee with my uncle, and get to bed. We'd finished getting the rest of the camp set up in the morning. So my uncle got his part of the camp set up and cooked his supper and a fresh pot of coffee. After eating and cleaning up his dishes, he lit both double burner gas lanterns and began passing the time making wire frames for dolls that my aunt made in her craft business. When my uncle had picked up groceries that afternoon at my house, he asked if he could borrow my .32 Special deer rifle to take with him, as he had a strange feeling he was going to need it. He had never asked me for my rifle before in all the years that we had been going into those mountains, so I trusted his gut feeling and I let him take the gun. Upon arrival at the 4 Bay, my uncle saw that my cousin and his wife and son were camped in a spot next to the water. He stopped and talked to them and told them that he was going to be using the lower campsite, which is down on in a hole, as we called it, about a quarter of a mile down a very rough road. So now he's working on the wire frames, and it's about 9 p.m. when he hears a noise down by the porta potties and garbage cans that the Forest Service places for the campers. There's only about 150 feet from where he's at the table working on the doll frames. He said that within less than a minute, out of the darkness and into the light of the lanterns, comes one of the largest bears he'd ever seen on that part of the country. Immediately upon seeing my uncle, the bear rises up on its hind legs, gives out an enormous growl, and started for my uncle. My uncle had the rifle next to him on the table. He picked it up, cocked around into the chamber, and fired, hitting the bear directly in the chest. He fired 2 more shots, hitting the bear all 3 times. The bear dropped to all fours, wheeled around, and ran back the way he came, knocking over the garbage cans on his way out of the camping area. The shots brought my cousin and his son running down to check on my uncle. Once everyone determined that the bear most likely headed down to the river, my cousin and his son went back to their camp. About an hour later, my dad and I arrived and got all the details. That night we all slept with our weapons next to us, and no one slept much. The next day after breakfast, my uncle thought we should go looking for the wounded bear. But after a lengthy discussion with my cousins, we all decided it would be far too dangerous to go down walking the trail to the river, which is only a couple of feet wide with old-growth manzanita thick in there. If the bear hadn't died, someone could get seriously injured by that wounded animal. So the decision was made by all of us that our safety was paramount. Later the next week, A news story on our local ABC station was about a camper who was in the same campground as we had been the previous weekend, who found a wounded bear on the trail to the river and had his leg grabbed by the bear laying in the manzanita. The man dispatched the bear with a pistol and reported the incident to the ranger. That was the last trip any of us made to that campground. And that's the end of that story, and it's unsigned, so we'll be respectful of that. That reminded me of when I was a kid. I think I was about 13 years old. I was living in British Columbia at the time, and somebody had called the police, I think, because there was a bear roaming around in the neighborhood, and there's kids and dogs and all that. So I think it was the police that were called. But anyways, the bear ended up charging the police, and they shot it, but only wounded it, and it got away. So the whole area of our town was basically under curfew until they were able to locate the bear and dispatch it. And anyways, there's really nothing more dangerous than a wounded bear. I can remember everybody was up in arms that the bear had to be shot in the first place. But that's a topic for another video for another day. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be it. I know it's a couple of short ones. But yeah, so you guys take it easy. Have a great day. Don't forget to hit the like button and the bell for notifications and subscribe. And if you've got an animal attack story, send it in. Or if you want to hear a story that is out there already, just let me know what it's about and I'll research it for you. Okay, take care. Have a great day. Bye for now.